Hi, everybody. I'm Joy Ting from the Virginia Winemakers Research Exchange. Welcome to Harvest Tips for Winemakers, a series of short videos with helpful tips and reminders for harvest. Tip number 1, don't take a random vineyard sample. Instead, take a representative sample. We all know that vineyards are variable places. No matter how well you sample, you may still have some differences between the chemistry of your sample and what comes in at harvest. There's a lot of theory and research based on the variation between vines, and within clusters. But practically, the trick is to take a sample that is as good a representation of that variation as you can. Here are some things to keep in mind to make sure that your sample is as representative as possible. Before you start, decide which rows you will sample to be sure that you cover the span of the vineyard block. For example, if you have 12 rows in the block, you might decide to pass between rows 3 and 4 on the way out, turn around and sample rows 5 and 6 on the way back in, then rows 7 and 8, then rows 9 and 10. A good rule of thumb is to sample at least 20% of the space as long as the vineyard block is pretty homogeneous. Make sure to avoid the edge rows, as these are not representative of the majority of the block. Divide your target number of berries by the number of rows that you will sample, so you know how many berries you need to take for each pass through the vineyard. For example, to take a 200 berry sample in 4 passes through the vineyard, you would have 50 berries per pass. Sample both sides of the row as you pass through, crossing to the other side as you walk. Try to space out your samples to cover the full length of the row, but avoid the first and last few panels of each row. Alternate taking berries from upper and lower clusters. This is especially important in ballerina-trained systems where bottom clusters are less exposed. Alternate sampling from the center, midpoint, and end of the cordon or cane. Also, alternate taking samples from different parts of the cluster. Harvest decisions aren't just about chemistry, so as long as you are walking the rows, notice the overall appearance of the vines. Do they look healthy, or are they starting to shut down? What diseases or other pests might be apparent? As soon as you finish sampling, store your berry samples in a cooler with an ice pack until you get them to the lab for processing. Also, write down your vineyard observations so that they can be included with the fruit chemistry when you evaluate ripening and make pick decisions. Even with a good representative sample, a variation of plus or minus 0.5 Brix is to be expected with berry sampling. So keep that in mind when you call the pick. For more information on this and other tips, check out our website at winemakersresearchexchange.com and stay tuned to our YouTube channel for more tips.